you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Playing on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
all in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Playing on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. With Tony Marinaro.
55 seconds left in the penalty, a minute and 27 seconds left in regulation time. Boston 4, Montreal 3. Lafleur coming out rather gingerly on the right side. He gives it into Lemaire, back to Lafleur.
The sickest Montreal Canadiens podcast.
You're in the ball!
Sports entertainment like no other.
Rejoint, on lui fait perdre la rondelle, une passe devant. Et c'est le dégagement et ce sera la victoire des Canadiens. Stanley pour les Canadiens, le 23e de l'histoire.
You found the dogs! John, you found the dogs! He found the dogs!
And all together, they worked a young team to the top. And now, a 24th Stanley Cup banner will hang from the rafters of the famous Forum in Montreal. The Canadiens win the Stanley Cup.
Brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. Driven to be different. La Vida TV. Embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination. It's gonna be sick.
Marinaro on this Thursday, April 17. It's the final night of the NHL regular season schedule. And in all transparency, this podcast was recorded right before the games started. So I don't know what happened. If anyone got hurt, well, I'm sorry. We'll talk about it at another time. It's kind of odd that the Washington Capitals, by the way, are playing Dylan Strome, playing Ovechkin, playing all their guys. I saw that, and I find that pretty weird. I wouldn't do that if I was their head coach, but he's up for the coach of the year, and I'm up for Tony in the basement for the year. But anyway, I digress. Marinaro, the Sick Podcast, brought to you in part by several major sponsors, one of which is Betway. They're giving you a chance, by the way, to win an Arsenal jersey signed by the team. If you want to enter the contest, click on the link in the description and follow Betway Canada on Instagram. You have until April 21st, and the winner will be selected on April 22nd. Remember, you need to be 18 and over to participate in this, only available to people outside Ontario. Pretty cool, huh? Speaking of Betway, you can go all the way with them and get a free bet up to $200 if your first bet loses. You scan the QR code on the screen or click on the link in the details section to create an account, redeem your welcome offer. Offers only available for new customers. Terms and conditions apply. Offers not available in Ontario. Must be 18 years of age and older. And please play responsibly. Without further ado, let me bring in from the Sick Podcast Recruits Draft Cast Podcast, Grant McCagg. How are you, man?
Well, a lot better than I was the last time I saw you, Tony.
Why? What happened the last time you saw me?
Well, they didn't clinch.
Oh, that's right. They didn't clinch. That's right. That was the night versus the Chicago Blackhawks. And obviously, they clinched last night versus Carolina. What do you say to those to say, yeah, okay, they clinched versus a team that was without 7 regulars?
Yeah, well, then the other team should have won games 3 weeks ago, right?
Correct.
Montreal got themselves into the position where they were playing a playoff team, and they could clinch it at the end. If the other teams wanted to get ahead of them, they should have won games 3 weeks ago instead of them all losing. So
I hear you, my man. All right, listen, I want to do several things tonight. Obviously, with the Canadiens set to play the Washington Capitals with Game 1 in Washington on Monday night, Game 2 in Washington on Wednesday night. Games 3 and 4 will be in Montreal next Friday and next Sunday. The city is going to be absolutely electric. The atmosphere is going to be unbelievable. Grant, I can't wait. Look, the season's not over yet, but I think we should highlight a couple of individual performances. Lane Hutson did it. He didn't beat the NHL record for assists in his rookie season, but he tied it, and he tied Larry Murphy's record of 60 assists. We all were pretty hopeful, I think, about Lane Hutson. We saw his talent, and we knew that he had the chance to do something. I don't think anyone could have predicted 60 assists in his rookie season, huh?
No, I made a bold prediction that he might hit 60 points, but not. I didn't think he'd get 60 assists. I thought he might get 50, but I just saw it in college from day one that he was a special talent, special player, and I'm not surprised. I predicted that he would win the Calder at the start of the year. It would be between him and Celebrini, and I think that's what ended up transpiring. So not surprised that he could win the Calder. A little surprised that he tied the all-time assist mark. I mean, that's more than Bobby Orr, more than Larry Roth, more than every great defenseman that's ever played. That's, it's something he can be proud of and cherish.
Grant, you that scouted for a National Hockey League team, the Montreal Canadiens, and continue to scout, do you think Lane Hutson will change the way people think, the way scouts think? Because a lot of guys that are small are stamped, right? He's too small. He'll get killed in the National Hockey League if he ever makes it. I'm going to answer my own question before I hear your answer, and I don't think really it's going to change people's minds. I think that if you have that in your mindset, that big players are big players, and that's what you want to go with. But do you think there's any chance here that he can change the way scouts scout or the way they view small players?
To a certain extent. I think even Cole Caulfield as well, being coming in at 5'7", and like he was the first 5'7" winger ever taken in the top 15 of the draft, and he has earned it.
Was he?
He was
really? First one. Yeah.
First one. Yeah. Marcel Dion was 5'8". Caulfield 5'7". DeBrincat, you remember, he was a 50-goal scorer twice in junior, and he still only went in the second round. So there was still, I think, DeBrincat helped pave the way for Montreal picking him up overall. And similarly, I think Lane will help pave the way for it's not so much maybe the height necessary, but 160 pounds. That's the real incredible thing I think about Lane, because there have been other 5'9", 5'10" defensemen that were very good, like Phil Housley, just like that. But Phil Housley weighed about 195 pounds, right? And Lane's never going to weigh that. It's just, he doesn't have to. He's just so smart and so quick. And so, he can get away from hits. You just see that he's just so aware out there at all times that, he might get banged around here and there. You see the hit the last game, Tony,
Oh, yeah. Him and Suzuki got hit a couple of times in the last week. It was
a
little bit concerning, and you wonder if there was physical fatigue and that's why it happened, or there was mental fatigue and that's why it happened, or there was a little bit of both, or that more and more teams are just looking to hit those guys because they know that if they can hit those guys and get them off their game, they got a good chance of beating the Montreal Canadiens. Are you at all concerned with his energy level going into the playoffs? Here's a guy who played collegiate hockey up until last year, like you said. He had never played more than 40 games. This year, they're at 2 points of the season. I think he looked tired. One was right before the Four Nations face-off, and we saw that after the rest he got during the tournament. Coming back, he was like just unbelievable. And the other time that he's looked tired to me has been in the last week. I was in Ottawa, and I saw him play in Ottawa. I saw him play in Toronto. I saw him play versus Chicago, and I saw him play versus Carolina. Don't get me wrong. He was not bad by any means, but offensively, that jump that he had and some of those spurts and some of that, it just seemed like it was a notch below. Are you all worried about his fatigue?
Maybe a little bit, but he's as physically fit as you could be. And I know, like, even in college, he always stepped up at playoff time, the Frozen Four and stuff. He was amazing. They're getting a decent rest here. They were home for the last two games, right? So it'll be more than a week without any travel, 4 or 5 days rest. And I think that's all he needs. He'll be juiced back up and ready to fly. I do believe.
As much as I think that they're physically spent and that they've shown signs of fatigue in the last week, there's one thing that actually says to me that, you know what, Tony, maybe you're wrong. And that is they were off today. They're back tomorrow. Marty St. Louis and the coaches know this staff like the back of know these players like the back of their hand. I mean, they know if they're tired or not. And if they're tired, they're giving them tomorrow off. The fact that they're back tomorrow leads me to believe that they're probably not as tired as we think. And I had this conversation with Denny Gauthier of RDS earlier today. And I said to him, I said, Denny, like myself, some of my buddies were watching the games and we're texting each other saying that, the Canadiens look like there's no more juice left in the orange, like they're running out of gas. And he said that he thinks that they've been mentally drained in the last week.
Exactly.
You know, that they're nervous and that they haven't been in that situation before and they were fighting it. And it took a lot of them out. It took a lot of out of them mentally. And that's why he says they look tired, but he doesn't believe they're physically tired.
No. Well, I agree with that. Like, it was like you had to win. It felt like they had to win every game, right? And now they'll start a series fresh. And they know that they can lose game 1 in Washington, and it's not the end of the world. They even know they can lose game 2. And, you know, as long as they come back home and win, then, they're in it. So,
I they say you're never in trouble until you lose a game on home ice, right? But if you lose the first 2, you put yourself in a position where you got to win 4 of the next 5, though.
Well, yeah, right. You know, but I don't know. They managed to do that against Toronto. They won 3 straight there.
Yeah.
We were down 3-1 the last time around, but it's so nice that you get to have a full Bell Center for the playoffs this time around, right? So last time they went up, they were in, and they went in a run, of course, was during the pandemic, and you know, they didn't have that home ice advantage that nothing beats a Bell Center crowd, Montreal crowd at playoff time. It's like the 7th man out there, and I think it will help. That if they're feeling a little fatigued or mentally fatigued, as soon as they hear that roar, game 3, they'll be rocking, back home. That's for sure.
It's going to be unbelievable in Montreal. I mean, it really is going to be unbelievable. The Sick Podcast is brought to you in part by Energy Transportation Group, a leading full-service logistics provider serving all of North America, driven to be different. Also brought to you by Playground. Their April High Hand promotion is giving away over $150,000 in cash prizes this month at their cash game poker tables. And Yellow and I and Sammy, by the way, are planning on going on Saturday night. So if you see 3 good-looking gentlemen there, chances are it's probably us. 7 days a week and 5 nights a week. Go and play anytime from 9:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. or enjoy the late night games from 9:30 p.m. to 2 a.m. for a chance to win. Payouts every 30 minutes. Get in on the action at Playground. Visit playground.ca for details. And of course, you see that fridge behind me. It's that's Bittt Tibi. They launched a new ultra lager, refreshing, thirst-quenching beer, perfect for the nice spring days. Only 90 calories, 2 grams of carbs, 4% ABV per can. Available in a pack of 6 in 12 in grocery stores all around the province of Quebec. It's ultra light and ultra refreshing. All right, okay. So let's get back to the Canadiens. We talked about Lane Hutson. What an amazing rookie season. You got him winning the Calder Trophy. Picked up 60 assists. Number 1 all-time in NHL history for the most assists by a rookie defenseman. Same amount as Larry Murphy, who did it back, I think, in 1981, if memory serves me well. In the biggest game of the year yesterday, I think this says something, right? Yesterday was the biggest game of the year, and I'm looking for guys who stepped up, because if you step up in the biggest game of the year, then you're answering a lot of questions. Kaden Guhle stepped up, and Juraj Slafkovsky stepped up. They're not the only ones.
Right.
But there was talk on Monday night when we were doing the podcast, Pierre Maguire, Chris Nyland, talking about, hey, you know what? Maybe the Canadiens should think about putting Demidov on the number 1 line, and maybe Slaf has to go down to the second line. Well, if they said that, they're probably not the only ones who said that. And if they're not the only ones who said that, I would imagine it got back to Slaf, and I would imagine Slaf heard it. Slaf last night played like someone who wanted to prove people wrong. It's exactly how he played.
Well, it's one of the reasons they drafted him for the big games. You saw what he did at the Olympics, Tony, at 17. There were no bigger games, like playing for your country for a medal. Like, it's just it couldn't be a bigger stage. And he was the Olympic MVP, and then great again at the World Championships too. That was one of the reasons why they drafted him, and he was very good in the playoffs that year in Finland. So he's got this type of body, the type of size, the type of game that he can play. Like, I've been saying it for 2 years. I look forward to seeing playoff Slaf, and last night may as well have been the playoffs, Tony. And we saw playoff Slaf, and don't be looking for more of the same in the first round against Washington. I think he'll step up, and he'll answer all the critics that that have been getting a little louder. Funny, he ended the season. Well, he didn't get an assist on the Suzuki goal, even though he did all the spade work along the boards there. But I guess the Carolina guy passed it back to Carrier.
Yeah.
And he didn't end up getting an assist. But if he had, and then the third goal too, he did all the work, but then it went Hutson, Suzuki, anyways, he got the third assist, but he had 16 points in his last 17 games. Now, for a guy that's been getting as much criticism as he has in the last month, that's pretty good stats for a 21 kid that just turned 21, right? So I think he will step up, and you will see and maybe a little bit of the Demidov getting all the adulation there, and that might have said to him, okay, because he's a proud man. You can see that, and first overall pick. He wants adulation too. And
of course he does. They all do, right? They all have their own ego and stuff like that. And it's only normal. And Demidov comes into town. There's a huge buzz. You saw the jersey sales, over $250,000 of jersey sales on the night that Demidov made his debut. I mean, that's absolutely unbelievable. That's a big time number in Montreal Canadiens merchandise history. Let's put it that way. And the other guy who had a really big game was Guhle. I mean, who would have bet? I mean, I wonder what the odds would have been last night on Betway for Kaden Guhle to score 2 goals in that hockey game, which was the biggest game of the year for the Canadiens. But he seemed like, if Slav seemed like a guy who wanted to prove a lot of people wrong, Guhle seemed like a guy who wanted to say, you know what? That's a bad penalty I took in Chicago versus Chicago. Everyone's talked to me about it. I feel pretty bad about it. And I kind of feel like I owe my team one.
Yeah.
That's a feeling I got yesterday, that he took it bad. He felt bad about it. He wanted to have a very good game, and he had a great game. He was the best defenseman on the ice last night in the entire hockey game.
Did you hear his post or pregame, like during the morning skate, whatever he had, and he said, "Hey, we're going to step up tonight. We're going to, don't worry about. We're going to play a hell of a game," and he backed it up himself, right?
Did you hear what he said after the game, alone in the locker room with his teammates, when they basically awarded him the player of the game and said, "You were our monster tonight"? Did you have a chance to see what he said?
I didn't see that, no.
Yeah, because you see that when they go around with the necklace, or the shades, and I think it was, in this case, I think it was the shades. But anyway, it doesn't really matter. And the second he got it, he looked at everyone and said, "Guys, 16 more."
There you go.
Well, that's pretty cool.
There's another guy that he was the WHL playoff MVP with Edmonton his last year of junior, Tony. Like, he was fantastic. 8 goals, 8 assists in the playoffs. He steps up when it's big.
He's captain material. I don't know if he'll ever be the captain of the Canadiens, because I think Suzuki will be here for a long time. But I think he's going to have he'll have an A on his jersey.
Oh yeah, for sure. He's a lot like Suzuki, and he's he's not the loudest and most vocal, but he's a gamer, and I've loved how he's picked up his physical game I know he got grief for that hit, but I was fine with it. Just that's the way he plays, right? He's got an edge to his game, and he's been playing that way.
He delivered some huge hits in Toronto.
Toronto. Yeah. He was fantastic.
In Toronto, he was amazing. He was amazing in Toronto.
Yeah, I think he's really picked up his game. And I thought Matheson too. Like, he's been a kind of a whipping boy, on social media. People saying that he should be sitting out. Like, come on.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
25 minutes a game. He averaged 25 minutes a game on a team that's going to the playoffs and that was the decisions of a coach who's going to be a Jack Adams Award finalist. Who's right? All of the people on social media saying that he should be sitting out, or the guy that's going to be a Jack Adams Award winner? Well, I'll go with the latter. I think Marty knows what he's doing.
It was +2 last night in the most important game of the season. But those who have, either an idea already made up about Matheson or an agenda, you don't hear those coming out saying, by the way, he was +2 in the most important game of the season. You won't hear that. Listen, he makes some mistakes in his zone with the puck. He's got some brain cramps. There's no doubt about it. I mean, he's a low-maintenance player who's a great guy, a great teammate, and a great family man who comes at a very, very good salary, great value per, banged for buck. But he did 3 teams after 8 years. He's not perfect, right? He's not perfect.
No.
Never claimed to be perfect, but he plays big minutes versus the best players on the other team.
I mean, you see it when you go see him live. Like, I was at the Ottawa game, the Montreal game. Like, he's a fantastic one-on-one defender. Sometimes when he has the puck and there are some brain cramps. And, I mean, when you play 25 minutes a game against the top lines, even Cale Makar has some brain cramps, not as often as Matheson, but, when you're playing that type of minutes against quality opponents, lines, but one-on-one defending, his skating is just, it's top notch. Like, you remember the turnover that he made, maybe that stands out more in your mind, but the 6 times that he came across the ice and cut off a guy going on a breakaway or whatever doesn't get the recognition that it should because it's not necessarily sexy, right? It's not with the puck, it's without the puck. Without the puck, Mike Matheson 95% of the time is one of the the best skating mobile defenders in the league, and that's why he plays 25 minutes.
Yeah, I've been thinking about this all day. I mentioned some of it, but huge satisfaction for guys like Kent Hughes, Marty St. Louis, among others, because Kent Hughes took a lot of heat on trade deadline day for doing nothing.
Right.
I didn't want him to give away the farm for Dylan Cousins. A lot of people were saying, you know what? Yeah, trade Michael H for Dylan Cousins. I was not part of that. I didn't want to do that. I was looking at a Ryan Donato insurance policy, short-term rental. If you got to give up a draft pick or 2, give it up. Ultimately, I guess Chicago was asking for more than that because they never traded Ryan Donato, and I think he finished the season with 31 goals or whatever it was. But if the Canadiens were going to miss the playoffs by a point or 2, you know that a lot of people were going to go after Kent Hughes and say, you know what? If you would have gone out and get somebody on trade deadline day, you would have made the playoffs.
Yeah.
In the end, he didn't compromise the future. He didn't make no silly deal, and he made the playoffs anyway.
Right.
So he won. Kent Hughes won. Marty St. Louis, we were many to question, myself included, the system, the hybrid system in the month of October, where they looked absolutely lost. I never asked for Marty's firing. I never said he lost his locker room. But I'm going to be totally honest with you. And when I was watching the way they were playing defensive hockey, I thought he absolutely needed to add an experienced defensive-minded coach to the staff to be able to fix some of the problems, because I had my doubts that he could fix it. Now, I'm not saying he fixed it alone, because obviously I'm sure Roger Grillo from above had something to do with it, and Roby Da and Letowski and the entire staff. But Marty always told us that I'm not going to change the way I think, and I'm not going to change the things that I do. And people can criticize all they want. I'm not going to change. And he was, and he stuck with that. And he won in the end. He won.
It's a process. They kept telling us it's a process, and it was.
Yeah.
And I think, you got to give Nick Suzuki credit for going to Kent Hughes and saying, look, keep this group together. Don't be a seller. Even though they limped into the, actually they didn't. No, I'm thinking the Four Nations, but they were within a point, I guess. But still 10th place and still, 2 points out of 13th place. So there was a lot of work to be done. But, he went to Kent and said, keep this group together. And he did. And it paid off with them making the playoffs. There's a lot of chemistry there. You can see it. They're a tight-knit group. And what I like is the young core, like the core of this team going forward is like 19 to 25-year-olds, right? There's just a whole bunch of them, like half the team at least. And they're all called like Caulfield, Hutson, Demidov, Guhle.
Suzuki's 25.
Suzuki, right?
Slav.
Well, that's the 25-year-old. He's the only guy that's 25 out of that group. There's a whole bunch between 19 and 23. Like Struble, Jackeye, like Heineman. Like there's such a
Hutson.
Kappen. I already mentioned Hutson, but Kappen.
You're right. So let's try and do this over again. All right. So Jaden Struble, Kaden Guhle, Lane Hutson,
Jackeye,
Arbor Jackeye, Emil Heineman, Demidov,
Dobish,
Suzuki's 25, Slafkovsky and
yeah. I didn't even mention Slafkovsky, did I?
No.
So,
and a guy that we can mention is Alex Newhook. He just turned 24.
That's right. Yeah. No, once you go down the line, it's well over half of the roster. It's under 26. And
the other guy that we didn't talk about is Kirby Doc, who's also 24.
There you go. Right. But just with him out, I guess it didn't. But it's important to get a group of young guys together that are around the same age. Like, they have similar interests, right? And I forget who it was. I think it might be Armstrong in St. Louis. He's made a point, like he grabbed Holloway and Broberg, right? And added that to Thomas and Neighbors. And he thought Jordan it was Cairo. Important. Yeah, it was important to have a group of key players that are all around the same age, because they'll meld. They'll hang out together. They'll become friends. Like Arbor and I don't know if you know, but Arbor and Lane are like. Did you see that? I mean, you could tell when he had that
with the Arbor t-shirt.
The Arbor t-shirt, right?
Yeah, and then that was pretty cool.
You see clips of the two though, like when they're he's running him through on the cart, and like they've become really close. You wouldn't, frickin' frack type thing, right? The big tough mean guy and the the skilled little guy, right? But they've become very good buddies, and it's the same. And I think Dobish and Jackeye have become really good friends too. And it's kind of neat that the relationships that get forged, right?
Yeah, they got similar interests, right? They got similar interests. Yeah. I think it's pretty cool. You're right. They're a good group. They really are a good group. And you just talked about Jackeye. I mentioned this last night on the Habs post game sick podcast. My colleague at BPM Sports Radio, Alex Longto, said to me, he says, we haven't seen Jackeye in a while, but we'll see him in the playoffs. And I said, well, you won't, if somebody gets hurt on the fence, you'll see him.
Yeah.
If they're down 2-0 or 3-0, probably to try and just some kind of swing, you might see him. But to think you're going to see him opening, like first game of the season, the playoffs, pardon me, you're not. I mean, he hasn't played in the last, I don't know, the last games have been playoff games for the Canadiens, even though they're not playoff games. They've been playoff games. And if he wasn't in their lineup last night, when they played 4 games in 6 nights, and we're in Ottawa on Friday and Toronto on Saturday and in Montreal versus Chicago on Monday, and last night versus Carolina, 4 games in 6 nights, and there was some travel, you're not going to see him to start the series unless somebody's hurt.
Exactly what I was going to say, Tony. The last 5 games have been playoff games, right? And he wasn't in the lineup. So, no, David Savard is going to be in the lineup to start the playoffs. He didn't sit any of those games down the stretch. It's not going to. No, Arbor is the spare defenseman as of now, and if they go down 2-0, 3-0, I would think would probably be. Then they bring him in, but other than that, or if they get an injury, you're right. But it happens. Like defensemen get injured a lot at playoff time. It's the forechecking is just intense. There's a lot of hits, a lot of Tom Wilson could injure somebody in a split second, right, with his forechecking. And it's great to have, because Arbor can step in. He's an NHL defenseman all day. Like next year he'll be playing regularly with the Canadiens. It's unfortunate that somebody has to sit, but none of them deserve to sit. So, I can't see him getting in. Another thing I wanted to mention, Tony, just I tweeted about it, but I did some research on it. And Suzuki had 59 assists and Hutson had 60. And I got thinking, it's been a while since we had two players with that many assists. I had to go back to 86, 87.
Mats Naslund.
Bobby Smith and Mats Naslund was
correct, because Mats Naslund had 110 points, and of those 110 points, 43 were goals.
Right.
And the rest were assists. So 43, so 57 and 10, 67 assists, I would imagine he had.
Yeah. And right.
Bobby
Smith had 59. And that was the last time. But if Hutson, I thought he got an assist on the last goal, and he could have. But if he had, I don't know the last time they had two players with 60 assists. I'd have to go back further, but he didn't do it, so I didn't. But might have had to go back into the 70s to, Lafleur and Mahavlich or whatever to get to Lafleur and Robinson.
Lafleur and Robinson is my guess. Yeah, that would be my guess. Lafleur and Robinson.
Yeah, probably 79, 78, probably. But that's rare. I mean, it's 230 goal scorers has been very rare. The last one was 11-12, I believe, or something like that. Pacioretty and
76-77. Larry Robinson had 66 assists and Guy Lafleur had 80.
80? Yeah.
76-77. Lafleur 80 assists, Larry Robinson 66.
Yeah. I think that may have been the last time that they had two 60 assist men.
There might be another time. There's another time. No. 79-80.
The next, okay.
Yeah, Larry Robinson had 61 assists and Guy Lafleur had 75.
Okay, I didn't know that Larry had hit 60 again. All right. I figured it would have been in Lafleur and Robinson.
So now, we've been talking for, about 35 minutes, and I'm going to get to my big question in about a minute or two, but not before I talk to you about Souvlaki Authentique. You know them for their amazing and delicious Greek food with 7 locations new at Souvlaki Authentique. For a limited time, you can get your order delivered for just $2 when you order on their website. Yes, just $2. So go to souvlakiauthentique.com and enjoy fast, hassle-free delivery at an unbelievable price, an unbeatable price. Plus, they now have a loyalty program. So sign up before your next order and start accumulating points, which is pretty cool. And you know what? Family-operated Greek restaurant, 7 locations, fresh Quebec chicken, pork, hand-cut, marinated in-house, gyros hand-stacked in-house, never frozen, no MSG, Greek potatoes with a unique lemon sauce. Not your Yaya's Greek potatoes, but these are fantastic at Souvlaki Authentique. Okay, the big question. Everyone's rating. Drum roll. There's no drum roll. How much of a chance you give the Montreal Canadiens to pull off a first-round upset?
Well, the last 2 months of the season, they were every bit as good or better than Washington. And now is when they're playing. So Washington doesn't have a proven playoff goalie either. I think series where you have 2 goalies that have no real playoff pedigree, it's up in the air. Like, I remember Roman Czechmanek. Remember him with the Philadelphia Flyers?
Of course, Flyers. Yeah.
Won the Vezina. Was fantastic in the regular season.
Yeah, he wasn't very good at plus.
He couldn't stop a beach ball in the playoffs. Right?
Yeah.
So he just it's a different. They call it the second season for a reason. It's just like the Canadiens limping into the playoffs. You don't know. What's that, Tony?
I don't know if you had a chance to see that or whatever, but all day I was trying to break down stats, Canadiens and Capitals.
Okay.
Capitals 43 regulation wins, and the stats are way in favor of the Capitals. Canadiens 30. Capitals goals for per games played 3.51. Montreal 2.96. Capitals power play 23.3%. Canadiens 20.1%. Capitals penalty kill 82.3%. Montreal's is 80.9. Capitals shots for 27.7 shots per game on average. Montreal 25.6. Capitals shots against 27 shots against per game. Montreal 29 shots against per game. I found a stat.
Yeah.
The Montreal Canadiens are superior. I found one. You ready?
Yeah.
Guess it. Which stat? Obviously, it's none of those.
Oh, penalty kill?
No, the Capitals at 82.3, Montreal 80.9. So the special teams, power play, penalty kill, goals for per game, shots for per game, shots against per game, regulation wins, all in favor of the Capitals. Montreal slightly beats them in faceoffs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Wow. 50.2 for the Capitals, 50.8 for the Canadiens.
Didn't beat Carolina in the faceoffs the other night.
No, they didn't. No.
Well, just for fun there before the first, if you want to feel a little better, compare the stats between Columbus and Tampa Bay the year that Tampa got swept by Columbus and set records in points and everything, right?
Yeah.
There's an example, Tony, of where you just don't know. Or Boston, remember they set records?
Yeah.
And then lose right away. Florida.
I was just going to say I went nuts today because so many people that I work for, they were asking me for my playoff bracket. My God, I went nuts today going back and forth. And, because I think Tampa Bay, who's playing Florida, either of those teams could make it to the Stanley Cup final. I think Dallas, who's playing Colorado, either of those teams can make it to the Stanley Cup final. So now if you end up, I think St. Louis could be the upset this year, that upset team. I think St. Louis is going to upset Winnipeg. I've said that before. I think St. Louis is going to upset Winnipeg.
Whoever wins that series might win the cup too. You're right. I really think that's a heck of a series too. That's going to be a great one.
It's going to be Connor Hellebuck versus Jordan Binnington.
Right.
It's going to be unbelievable, right? They faced each other in the final of the Four Nations face-off. They're going to face each other again, which is going to be something. But long story short, all I was saying is I was going to end up going with Toronto because I think Toronto could look. I think Toronto's going to go a couple of rounds. Like this could be their year. I really believe that, and I've never believed it more than ever that it could be Toronto's year. You don't think so?
Oh, I hope not.
Yeah,
they don't have a playoff proven goalie either. Until I know they look good but I mean Freddie remember Don Cherry used to say, "Oh, best goalie in the world," in the regular season, and then in the playoffs, they couldn't win, right? So we'll see how their goaltending is in the playoffs. It's been very good. Their defense is the best it's been. I'll give them that. I really like their defense. They block a lot of shots. You saw it in that game. Montreal had as many shot attempts as Toronto, but they only ended up with about 10 shots on goal in that game. So, this is the best team defensively that Toronto's had since they've had Matthews, and I think that gives them a better I'll agree with you that this team probably has the best chance of getting through, and I think Craig Berube is the best coach that they've had too.
Without a doubt, he's the best coach that they had. Anyway, long story short, I ended up going with the Tampa Bay Lightning. I ended up going with the Tampa Bay Lightning to win the Stanley Cup and for Vasilevsky to actually win the Conn Smythe. But you know what? Guess what? I mean, this could they could end up getting knocked out by the Florida Panthers. I mean, they're playing the defending Stanley Cup champions. It's not going to be easy.
They've been to the finals 2 years in a row.
Yeah,
I think that might be part of the reason why there's a team that legitimately could have fatigue. 2 Stanley Cup finals in a row and then back for the third time. I know I interviewed Larry Robinson not that long ago for a book, my second book that I'm going to be writing on Ottawa Valley hockey players. And Larry was saying, you know, after 4 years or whatever, the fifth round, and Minnesota had that young team, right? They had Bobby Smith and Dino Ciccarelli and all these young guys gunning for it. And they just, you know, it finally caught up with them a bit that they were a bit fatigued from just so many long playoff runs. And it might have caught up with Florida a bit. We'll see. I think that's a great series to watch. It'll be great.
Listen, Dallas, Colorado. And by the way, I ended up picking, it's funny because I have money on Dallas to win the cup at one point, which I put down a couple of months ago, $1 or $2, of course on Betway. But I ended up choosing Colorado in 7 in my bracket today because I like the fact that Colorado, I think Dallas has more depth, but I like the fact that Colorado rested McKinnon and Devin Tays and Cale Makar. They said they were a little bit banged up, but they were resting them. And I think that could help. But those two series,
adding their captain from 3 years ago, how much of an inspiration is that going to be, right?
Yeah. Let's see where his game is, though.
No, but even being on the bench, Tony, you know, like, remember Stamkos played one shift in the Stanley Cup Finals and scored a goal, but just being on the bench and being with them, the captain's there, right?
Yeah.
You know, but I it's been 3 years preparing. Like Landeskog, I think is ready. He's a gamer. Like you look up gamer in the dictionary, and there's a picture of Gabriel Landeskog.
He's a big gamer.
Oh yeah, I think that will make a huge difference in the locker room for him. They haven't won since, right?
No. Speaking of a playoff bracket, if I can, Grant, just I want to mention to join our playoff bracket, free to enter, and winner gets $500 in sick merchandise. Link in the description of the episode. Please continue. Sorry about that.
But I don't know if Iskanen's going to be playing to start the series. And that's huge, right?
That's a big loss.
Yeah. I mean, if he's not playing, I say Colorado for sure. I give them the edge.
You think Edmonton's going back to the final?
No, I don't think they're. I don't think they're going to beat LA.
I don't think they're going to beat LA either.
No. I think this their fourth year in a row that they're playing LA. I think LA finally gets over the hump this year. Edmonton they didn't make good offseason moves. I didn't like what they did. Not keeping Holloway and letting Broberg go and signing those guys. It backfired on them, and they don't have the right. I don't think they have the right recipe this year. But you never count out McDavid and Draisaitl if they get hot. They've been the best playoff performers of the past 6-7 years. You know, they can get by LA, but then the next round, you know, if they do get by LA, I don't see them advancing too far this year.
Fiala had a really good year for LA this year. Really good year.
Yeah.
Good player.
Yeah, Byfield back up. They got Doughty back too, right? And that's Drew Doughty's. He's been there, done that. He's still one of the best defensemen in the league and a great leader too. I don't think you can underestimate leadership at this time of year. I think it's so important. And Nick Suzuki, one of the best leaders in the league. And at playoff time, he's got proven pedigree too. In the OHL, 2 years, he took teams that weren't supposed to go that far, took them all the way right to the finals. And won. So and then as a 21-year-old first line center, led Montreal to the Cup final, right?
I think that this year, when you talk about the Selke and the Lady Byng, he's got to be in the discussion for both. Like, you know, he's got to be in the discussion for both. Don't forget, like, with all due respect to Kirby Dach and Alex Newhook, he wasn't extremely well insulated. Like a lot of great centermen in the National Hockey League are very well insulated. You know, Crosby's got Malkin behind him, and McDavid has Draisaitl behind him, and Matthews has John Tavares behind him. And we can play this game till we're blue in the face. And Nick Suzuki had Kirby Dach, and then he had Alex Newhook. And so he drew a lot of assignments, and guys leaned on him pretty much, and it was tough, and he was able to fight his way through it, which is amazing. Look, it's going to be an abbreviated edition. We're not going to go on over an hour the way we usually do, but I want to ask you this in ending. Where do you think this series will play itself out in the end? Whether, regardless of who wins here, what do you think will be the most important part of this series?
Okay. I just want to add just quickly, Tony, if you don't mind, about Suzuki was plus 19 on a team that was at a goal differential of minus 20. That tells you all you need to know about Dylan Larkin. Okay. Yeah. Detroit was minus 20 goal differential too. He's their first line center, minus 16. So one guy facing the other guy's top lines, plus 20, the other guy minus 16. Tells you all you need to know right there, Tony, about
that's unbelievable.
How great a year he had.
What are you looking at in the series between the Canadiens and the Capitals?
Well,
what's the thing that stands out the most for you?
I think that what stands out the most is that I think it's unpredictable. I'm not sure what's going to happen in this series. I think Montreal could surprise, but then I wouldn't be surprised if Washington steamrolled them. So it's we haven't seen a great team. Washington hasn't played great the last 2 months, and Montreal's played better. So that tells you that it evens out the playing field, right? Mm-hmm. I personally think it's going to be a long series, and that if Montreal can win one of the 2 games in Washington, I think that's very important for them to win at least one of those 2 games.
Yeah,
and bring it back to the Bell Center. And hey, if they can ride the wave of the motion of the crowd, if Demidov steps up, I just started doing a video of his playoff last year because I remembered how good it was, and it just I'm going to be posting it on our YouTube channel. He was just so good in the playoffs last year. I know it was only junior, but still, he could be a real factor in this. If we see the player that I think we might see, he might be the difference in this series, and he's going to be pumped to show
play versus Ovechkin.
To show off his stuff with Ovi. So
we look forward to it. Grant, you and I will be talking next week, the playoffs, Montreal in Washington versus the Capitals, starting on Monday night. And for sure, we're going to touch base at some point next week. Thanks for doing this, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Tony.
Once again, in all transparency, this was recorded prior to the games starting tonight. So, but we already know all the playoff matchups, right? The Montreal Canadiens are going to play the Washington Capitals. We're going to have the Battle of Ontario. Toronto's going to play the Ottawa Senators, which is going to be unbelievable. We're going to have the Battle of Florida. The Florida Panthers are going to play the Tampa Bay Lightning, which is going to be absolutely unbelievable too. And Dallas is going to play Colorado. Winnipeg is going to play St. Louis. LA is going to play Edmonton. New Jersey is going to play Carolina. Minnesota is going to play Vegas. Got some really, really good playoff series in round 1. And once again, join our playoff bracket. Free to enter. Winner gets $500 in sick merch. Link in the description of the episode. There you have it. Check it out. Good luck to you. All the best. For Agnello and Sammy at Master Control, thanks everyone for watching. We'll be back tomorrow night, same time, same place. I'll be in, by the way, for Matt O'Hain. It's usually Matt on Fridays, but it's going to be me tomorrow. And a reminder, when the Canadiens play games on Fridays, like, for example, next Friday, they're going to play Game 3, and they're going to play Game 4 on Sunday, also in Montreal. Usually we're off on weekends. And, of course, obviously, because it's the playoffs, we're going to be in, and we're going to be bringing you post-game coverage right here on the Sick Podcast. Thanks for watching. Ciao for now.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group, driven to be different. LaBita.tb. Embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination.